Well, good afternoon, everyone. I trust you're having a good afternoon and hope you had a happy holiday and your 2021 is off to a great start. Today, in this afternoon's webinar, we're going to talk about our Process Safety Solutions Total Compliance, and we call this a Total Process Safety Package. And really, we just want to kind of talk about what that is and how that can help industries in general not only just stay in compliance, but get better at PSM in general. And that's at the end of the day, that's what we all really want is to be in compliance, but also make sure our employees are safe and productive. So what is PSS Total Compliance? It's a third-party partnership. That's kind of what we do in terms of what we want to be able to do is teach. And that's teach operators, engineers, process operations, staff, et cetera. We want to teach them process safety. It goes beyond a regulation. We always talk about the fact that it really needs to be teaching the concepts behind the regulation itself. If we can teach the concepts, then people will learn process safety and becomes natural for people to do the right things when it comes to process safety and not have to rely on a regulation to make us do those sort of things. It's also to coach, so we provide the expertise and knowledge to coach people in process safety. For those of you that may not know, I come from a background in process. So 15, 20 years of process, actually 25 years in industry as a process engineer, as a project engineer and safety engineer, et cetera. And then 5 years as a OSHA PSM specialist. So I kind of bring that, industry experience, but also bring me the industry experience and understanding that the two don't always mesh well together. So certainly providing that coaching where coaching is needed. Also mentoring, mentoring is a little bit different than coaching. Sometimes we just need somebody that can help us answer the questions. For example, I know we spend a lot of time here during our webinars, and after the webinars, we get a lot of questions and emails back and forth asking us specific questions that they particularly didn't know how to ask during the webinar, and we provide that information as well. That's mentoring, that's some coaching, but it's also mentoring and teaching and answering those questions that people have. So a partnership can also include many PSM and RMP aspects as well. It just doesn't have to be PSM, it can be RMP, and obviously a lot of facilities that are covered by process safety management or PSM are also covered by RMP and vice versa. So we have a number of clients that are covered by RMP levels 1, 2, and 3, obviously. So helping in those aspects is important as well. And coaching and training and teaching what's required in those is helpful. Everything is needed, not only in compliance, but to enhance our operations, so we need everybody to be involved. We need everybody to be a part of the process. We also, as part of our total compliance, we provide a compliance guaranteeing the knowledge and the tools that they need and you need, for example, to be in compliance. So some of that has to do with the coaching and the mentoring and teaching, but also giving you the tools that you need to be successful. And that's what we provide as well. And our packages are designed to really fit the need. So we don't have a one size fits all sort of thing. We really have packages that fit what you need. Maybe you just need somebody that's a PSM coordinator. Maybe you need somebody that's actually doing some of the tasks that you don't have the people to do those tasks with, et cetera. We can provide those as well. It's really to address and designed to address turnover and knowledge gaps. We look across many industries, especially the ammonia refrigeration industry. There is a lot of turnover in that industry. In fact, we have several clients right now that are having a hard time finding good qualified operators to operate their processes. And so it's providing, and what we do is provide the gaps that they need in terms of knowledge. Maybe you have a new operators coming on board. They may have and gain some operations experience and knowledge, but they don't have the process safety knowledge that they need. And that does not happen overnight. That does not happen in a 1 week class. That does not happen in a 2 week class. In fact, most of us If you've been involved in PSM or RMP for some time, you know you didn't learn all of that in 1 week or 2 months or a year. It takes time. It takes that mentoring and coaching and teaching to learn that. If we think about it, better trained operations personnel and support staff wind up and allow us to be more efficient. They ensure that we don't have these process safety incidents, and employees morale is much higher as well when we have the training and the knowledge that we need to do our jobs. So we typically offer 4 different levels of packages. Remember what I said earlier, that these can be mixed and matched, but these are basically the 4 kind of total compliance packages that we normally offer. The level 1 is a basic PSM coordinator, and that's all we do is play the role of PSM coordinator, and there's a lot of teaching and coaching and mentoring in that process. Then we have level 2, which is a coordinator and a technician role. So we provide some of each of those. Level 3 is coordinator, technician, and trainer roles. And then level 4 is a coordinator, technician, trainer, and system manager roles as well. So again, any combination of those levels in those packages. So in a PSM coordinator level 1 role, we're really bringing the expertise for your people to learn and gain experience with PSM and RMP. We include your annual refresher training. So we typically will partner with refrigeration contractors, for example, to help bring some of that information and training to your employees. So this is an annual thing. So we can do these virtual training, we can do them on site, and typically we also offer free webinars on various topics. And some of you have taken part in our series this year on different PSM elements, but we offer those free throughout the year in addition to specific topics within your industry. For example, if it's ammonia refrigeration, we're discussing specific topics in ammonia refrigeration. We also have other clients outside of ammonia refrigeration as well that we provide that training, that refresher training on as well. We also offer a 50% discount on our PSM RMP virtual and on-site training as part of that. So it goes just beyond just being a coordinator. It's actually teaching, again, coaching and mentoring. We also have our own PSM management software that we call PSI Access. It covers every element within PSM. So the picture off to your right there on this slide kind of shows you what you see when you log into our software. Essentially, we address every PSM element within there, including contractor management and your site-specific videos, CBT for contractors and visitors, and a way for them to come in and take their training or take their training offsite before they get there, and with some verification of understanding, including all the elements that they need to ensure that you're bringing only qualified contractors into your facility, and those people are properly trained. We also monitor your PSM activities and provide input to ensure compliance. So through our software, we can see, for example, if your operators are not doing their daily rounds, if they're not doing their monthly and weekly rounds, if they're not, the ITPM task, for example, are not getting done, action items are overdue, et cetera. So we can see all of that instantly as part of a partner or a third party. So we can kind of help you make sure that you're not only staying in compliance, but maybe then we can kind of help you see what areas that need improvement or you need some guidance on. We also provide and document monthly facility PSM reviews. So for example, we'll sit down with the client, for example, and we will go over a specific topic this month. And in that topic, we'll keep notes and we'll provide all of those notes so anybody in your facility can view those notes. Our software is available as long as that user is set up. They can view anything in your system and know all your PSI or process safety information, all your PHAs, and everything is on there in a view only mode, so you can see it at any time and anybody can see it. We also provide semi-annual visits so at the site, so we can actually come out to your site and make sure that everything is as we see it in the documentation. And then we update as needed your RMP. You know, a lot of facilities we see, for example, their emergency contact person may change several times throughout the year, and you have limited amount of time to make that change before you're out of compliance. And that's an easy one for a compliance officer from EPA to find. If your contact information is not correct, that's an easy one for them. And that's an easy one to update too. So it doesn't take that much to update that. Then of course, we also within the level 1, we conduct your 5-year PHA revalidation or redo. And then we do regulator inspections and regulatory, that should say regulatory inspections and audit support. So if you have a regulator that comes into your facility and they're, whether it's EPA or OSHA, we provide the support that's needed for them as well. Having been a former OSHA regulator myself, I pretty much understand what they're going to ask for. So most of the time we can provide quite a bit of input as soon as those personnel arrive to make sure that they understand what they need to do, what they can expect, et cetera. We also do your IAR 9 evaluations, inspections, or certifications, or what do you want to call those? And really that's usually done right away anyway, just to see where your gaps are at in your facility. So that was the level 1. Again, that level 1 is just a PSM coordinator role with some PHAs, compliance audits included in there. The level 2 is really takes on a bit of a technician role. So we do all of the things that were provided in level 1, plus we conduct your initial gap analysis. So we'd come in and look at your facility and determine where the gaps are. For example, you may have gaps in your P&IDs are not up to date. You're missing vessel nameplates. Maybe you're missing ventilation calculations, or your information that you need in regard to ventilations, like pressures and flows, and whether or not you have enough flow in the room itself. We can do those calculations. We also do your PSV/RV calculations and document all of that. And be surprised how many of those are still out of compliance in terms of, especially when it comes to header sizing and pressure drops. Also, we develop and document and schedule your required ITPM procedures per IR 6 requirements. And I think, as most of you probably know, if you've went through some of your RegAGAP material, there's a lot of documentation and inspections and tests and PMs that need to be done as part of your process. We provide, we develop all of that for you, including your ITPM procedures, et cetera, and then make sure that you're been trained on all of those procedures and understand what needs to be done. We also calibrate and test all your detectors if they're every 6 months or as required, depending on the makes and models that you have. And then, of course, your annual electrical system thermography is included in that level 2. Compressor oil and condition monitoring or vibration monitoring is included. And we use vibration or condition monitoring a lot of times to address some of the ITPM tasks, such as looking at couplings and a number of other things that we can use vibration to detect any problems early on. And then we do selected annual visual inspections as well. If you look at IR 6 requirements, there's a number of things that are required to be done on an annual basis. In the level 2, we do a number of those. We don't do all of those, but we do a number of those that make sense for a third party to do in this role. Also, we do all your safety system testing, calibration and inspections, et cetera. So all your compressors, your ventilation, your e-stops, all your safety showers and eye washes, we measure flows, we check everything to make sure it's in accordance with the latest RegAGAP or whichever RegAGAP, of course, applies to your facility. So that's the level 2. Again, that's just a technician role, not a full technician role, but takes on some of the responsibilities. So in a level 3, we do everything that we had in level 1 and level 2, plus we do your CFATs or your DHS top screen reporting if you need that. A lot of facilities, they do the initial one and then they don't have to do anything after that. Also, we do your annual EPA Tier 2 reporting and LAPC letters and reporting. And a lot of times we also include a discussion and a phone call with the LAPC folks to make sure that they understand what your facility actually does, et cetera. But we also encourage them to take part in a drill or an exercise at your facility. And if they have not done the walkthrough in your facility, to make sure that they've done that at least as a minimum. Again, we do selected PMs. That's optional. We do a respirator fit testing is optional in this particular level. We do your annual operator refresher training, and that includes a number of things, including we look at your SOPs, make sure your SOPs are current and accurate, assume that you certified those. If you haven't, we make sure that they're certified. Well, and we have all our own RETA certifications here to make sure that we review all of that to make sure it's correct, the proper format, proper sections are completed and are current. We also do risk-based inspection planning and development. A lot of facilities right now, are doing RBIs. We have a number of clients that we do RBI work with. Ammonia refrigeration hasn't done a lot of RBIs, but it's a great opportunity for RBI to be done, especially when it comes to piping inspections and vessels. A lot of things that get done there just do not make sense for this industry. And so a good risk-based inspection and a good RBI plan is what's really needed. And we use a lot of advanced NDT, including eddy current and radiometric profiling, to specifically look at those areas where, especially when you have insulated piping and vessels, we can look at that and use that information to make your inspections, especially if you're in an RBI, more robust, and looking at the areas that need to be looked at more frequently than others. And then the benefit of that, and we'll talk about this as well later, is the fact that we can spread that knowledge across facilities. So we can look at one facility. If your operating window is between 40 and 60 degrees, and we're seeing a lot of corrosion under insulation at those temperatures, we can apply that to your other facilities. Now spend more time looking in those areas for corrosion issues that you might have at your facility. So when it comes to level 4, level 4 has a coordinator technician, and now we add the trainer and system manager roles. So yeah, so sorry. So it's all level 1 and 3, plus we coordinate or conduct painting of valve groups and uninsulated piping. And we tend to see that every 3 years, if you're painting a valve group and you're prepping and painting it, it actually keeps your facility in much better looking order by doing 1 or 2 of those every year or every 6 months, so that every 3 years they're all done. And it's less work if you don't have as much to do each time. So overall, it saves you quite a bit of money that way too. And then we also do large project PSM RMP support. So if you've got a new project going in, we'll develop your PSM programs for you, and we'll manage your projects. We'll do the PHA, PSSR, et cetera, whatever was needed for that project. Also, because there are a number of facilities that will hire third-party contractors to come in and do the actual installation, which is perfectly fine, but then the PSM thing falls behind, and it's much easier to do as the project's being developed and making sure that everything is developed correctly the first time. We also do quite a bit of incident investigation facilitation. Right now, probably 90% of our facilitations that we do are virtual. So most of the incident investigations we're doing, we don't really have to go on site. There are some things that we still have to go on site to do, and usually that's a walkthrough, maybe a couple hours looking at the actual the site itself to help us to arrive at some various causal factors. We also do PM, such as changing relief valve, insulation repairs, and placement. Normally we'll work with other third-party vendors to do this, but we can coordinate all of that and to make sure that it gets done in a timely manner. So as I mentioned earlier, we have our own electronic PSM management software called PSI Access, and it is just that. It's a PSM management software. It is not a CMMS or computer maintenance management system, but we have the ability to do work orders within it, just to be able to manage all your PSM in one place. A lot of facilities, especially smaller facilities, and we work with oil and gas facilities as well, don't have a management system in place or a CMMS in place. And we can use this to make sure that all of the PSM work is addressed as well. We also include a free tablet. So that free tablet, you can use that to do all of the mobile application work, like your rounds. All of your rounds are electronic. All your PM is done electronically. All your inspections are done electronically. So there's no scanning of documents. There's no need to scan a document and upload it. When you get done with the work out in the field, whether you're connected to a Wi-Fi or not, it's going to sync with the cloud database, and all of the documentation is there. So we don't have to scan a bunch of documents, like I said, and it makes the process of doing ITPM much easier. We set up the ITPM and rounds to match IAR6 documentation. So those are the bare minimums that we do. A number of facilities, for example, may have dispersion tanks. They may have a number of other things that they want to look at, temperatures, flows, etc. All of that can be set up anytime you want. Add, subtract, delete different round data, whatever you want. Also, our software, if you're in the field and you're looking at, if you're trying to do an inspection on a compressor, for example, and you don't know what the cutout pressure is or temperature, we actually, from the device itself, you can click on a button and look at all of the process safety information that's related to that piece of equipment out in the field. You don't have to go anywhere to look at it. It is a full contractor management system as well. So within our software, we do all of the contractor management. We set the criteria, we set out all of the information to your prospective contractors, that they're providing all of their insurance, they're providing all of their training if required, they're providing all of the requirements that you would like them to have before they come into your facility. You go through and you approve them electronically again, and they're uploading all of this data to your system. You approve them, and then they take their training. They can also provide training through our system. So they take the training that's required for them annually through our CBTs or our virtual classes as well. Once those contractors are approved, then their employees have to take their training, obviously, and then we show who's actually been trained. So when they come onto your facility, you'll know who's been trained, who's had their site specific. So if it doesn't show up as an approved contractor employee, then we shouldn't be letting them into our facilities to do work. We also have within our mobile application electronic logs. So you can log all your oil removal addition. You can log all of your refrigeration addition, ammonia or whatever the case may be, secondary media. We have all of that according to IR6 and other rega gaps as well. We also have the ability to do hot work permits and other permits right from the mobile app. So you can write the permit from there, get it approved from there, and just use the tablet out in the field as the permit. Don't have to print a permit out and hang it. Just hang out the. They can view it from the tablet. We also, as I said earlier, we have all levels of access through PSI Access. And what I mean by that, every user, for example, let's say you had 10 users in your facility or 10 people in your facility that need to know about the PSM, need to know about PSI. They need to know everything. In fact, every production person, if you want, could be added to the system. They have view-only privileges, so they can view anything and everything about your process there, to make sure that they understand all of the PSM requirements. Also, we had an operator view, so certain thing that the operator can do, certain thing that the admins can do. We also have another user called a contract user. So for example, I'm in facilities, I'm normally listed as a contract user. So there are certain things that I would do for them as a contract user, but I can't do anything else for them. This cuts down on for example, scanning documents. So if you have a third party that comes in and does certain work for you, you just set them up as a contract user. They go do those things that they need to do, whether that's in inspections or tests or anything else. They fill out the documentation and complete it. It would come back to you as accountable person to make sure that it was done the way you want, and then you approve it. So again, cutting down on or eliminating the need to scan documents. One of the biggest things that we have seen in the past, in fact, over the last 15 years of me doing this work, is the fact that you may have done the work, but the documentation gets lost in the process somewhere, and nobody can find that documentation. If you can't find the documentation, then a lot of times a regulator will look at that. If you don't have documentation, it never got done. So eliminating the need for paperwork, scanning paperwork on here. If you've done it, it's there, it'll always be there. So a lot of times we have to address a lot of the gaps that we see. In fact, it doesn't matter what kind of facility you're in. These are the things that we see as often the initial gaps. P&ID updates. So most facilities are going to have P&IDs that are not up to date, need corrections. As part of our typical packages, we do the walk downs, we do the updates, we do the CAD versions if they need CAD. For example, we're working with one client now that does not have CAD versions. So we put everything to CAD, did the walk downs and did the updates. And then it's much easier to continue those updates as required. A lot of facilities also, especially some of the older facilities, may not have vessel nameplates. So we've had a couple of clients that had nameplates missing, so they were in the process of replacing the vessels. Well, that's a pretty expensive process to go through and replace a vessel just because the nameplate is missing, when ASME and Regagap allows you to do other things. And of course, PSM allows you to do other things as well. And one of those things is we conduct PMI. PMI stands for positive material identification. So we can identify the material that the vessel was made out of. We'll do thickness measurements, enough thickness measurements to determine what the thickness currently is. And then we'll do the ASME Section 8 calculations to make sure and determine what the pressure rating should be. Then we can combine that information with hazard assessments and analysis to make sure that it's operating in a safe manner, and then document all of that information. And that's perfectly fine. Okay, that is within PSM regulations, also within ASME requirements and under as a required Section 8 as well. Other things we do is your ventilation calculation. That includes sizing, area pressure. For example, when the fan kicks on, we know that the pressure has to be less than what the design is, or more than the design, depending on how you're looking at it. But if the pressure goes too negative in that room, your fan may not be size big enough. That may mean that you need more inlet louvers, et cetera, installed. We also look at and do your velocity determination. What is the velocity exiting the fan at? If it's less than required, then we can make those recommendations. And then of course, document your design codes as well. Sometimes what we can do is actually find a design code that meets what you're actually sized for. We don't always have to choose a specific design code. PSM allows you to select your Regagap that you plan to use. So we can help you with that as well. Also, we do your PSV and RV calculations. So if you've got PSEs or RVs in your facility that you do not know what the sizing requirements were or are, then we certainly do that as part of the level 2 through 4. And then of course, document your design code as well. And of course, if you have relief headers, and we see this quite often where relief headers are not sized correctly, they may have been sized correctly at one point in time, but then over time, more equipment was added, and the relief header was never updated, or the calculations were never updated. And we provide that as part of this package as well. So what do we have in annual refresher training? And normally these are live instructions. They're virtual or they're on site. Over the last year or so, we've probably been doing a lot of virtual, obviously for COVID reasons. But a lot of the people that we do these training sessions for enjoy the training sessions virtually just as much as they do when we're on site, because we're getting better. And I think just like we all are, getting better at doing things virtually. We develop a training plan for your facilities. For example, if you have new operators, if you have seasoned operators on your facility, we can develop a training plan that can utilize the talent and skills that you already have. For example, like I said, if you have that skilled operator, we can use that skill to help teach the lesser trained or lesser skilled operators the skills that they need through a blended type learning environment, and that's how we would set up your plan. So some of the topics that we normally have on annual refresher is operating procedures. We go through the elements, we go through the importance of each of the elements in there, and we talk about importance of operator rounds. And I think for you that are in ammonia refrigeration, you would know that a lot of facilities have operator rounds, but they don't always get filled out. In fact, they're kind of hit and miss as to whether or not they get filled out at all. Of course, with our PSM software, we get to see if they're filled out, if they're not complete or incomplete, and then we can begin to kind of help them understand the importance. We can help teach and train and mentor and coach the importance of doing the round. And I think we have found that over the first couple of months or so, operators begin to see the importance of that round and why it's important to do that. For example, we had an example a couple of weeks ago where I talked to operators about rounds and how important it was to put your hand on the compressor, put your hand on the piece of equipment, assuming it's not too hot to put your hand on it, but you get to feel how it's running. Is it vibrating more so today than it was yesterday? Is it warmer today than it was yesterday? You begin to develop that memory on how equipment sounds, how it runs, how it feels, and that's what you want. And that's what's important about that round, is to begin to develop that data and knowledge. It also provides elements, we provide those elements of blended learning, for example, general refrigeration topics. So we'll have from introduction to refrigeration all the way to more advanced courses in refrigeration as we develop refresher training. It's increasing the knowledge of your operators. So we have special topics. For example, we had a topic not too long ago about the importance of labeling critical valves. We know we need to label critical valves, but what is a critical valve? And why is it important that we label those, and how should we label those? And of course, there's a number of more topics that we discuss. We usually ask questions at the end as to what the operators would like some training on, and then we develop a topic to address those things. We include verification of understanding in all of our training, and that means a little quiz, a little question at the end of it that's well documented, so that they can go take that quiz and test on PSI access and document that they understood the training they were provided. And we, again, provide new topics every year. So each year we've been adding a new topic that we want to make sure that everybody can see. And these are always on demand. If we do a virtual training, we record those so anybody can take those on demand. Also, by definition, because this is training, and all this training has certainly credits that you can actually take. So if you're RETA certified, some of this training can actually apply to your RETA certifications as well. So each of the courses will have a CEU credit assigned to them that you can use as well. So the benefits is all of this is conducted by experienced engineers and certified technicians. We're Zero Caro certificate, all had certificates or getting certificates, et cetera. And of course, knowledge and experience. And we're really a highly skilled partner. That's what we want to be as a partner. We don't want to do everything. We just want to partner with our clients to help them get better at process safety. Our systems are all electronic, including your MOC, PSSR, incident release reporting. All of it's done electronic. Again, no paper trails that you have to follow. Again, the daily, weekly, monthly rounds are done electronically on a mobile app. And all electronic MI documentation is also done in the mobile app. So all your inspections and tests and everything else are done through the mobile app, or they can be done on the web-based app as well. Again, all electronic contractor management, only qualified contractors can be used, and that reduce risk. A lot of times facilities don't do a very good job of contractor management because it seems like it's hard to do, and we make it pretty simple to do contractor management. The other benefit is contractors receive continuous training, and it's not just a one-time thing. It's, we provide training throughout the year, whether it's a half hour, whether it's an hour, every month or every quarter. Your operators receive continuous training. This just doesn't apply to operators. It can apply to engineers in your facilities as well. So that training makes those persons more valuable, not only to you, but also makes you, the person receiving the training, much more valuable as well. And that's a big benefit. So we tried to put together what a typical facility would spend on the various things that they have to do. And this is for ammonia refrigeration facility. You can kind of see that on average, and again, these aren't an average, some are going to be less than this, some are going to be more than this, et cetera. But this is what we're seeing on average. It's about 3,000 to 6,000 a year, or every 6 months. Or I'm sorry, 3,000 to 6,000 a year for detectors to be calibrated every 6 months. Vibration or condition monitoring every 3 months is going to be, every 6 months is between 2,000 and 3,000 a year. And then the oil analysis. So you can kind of see that what these numbers are. We kind of put together these on average, what those costs would be. So you can kind of, go through there and tally that maybe the annual cost, not including the P&ID updates, not including the miscellaneous PSI updates, et cetera, OSHA fines. It's between about 35,000 and 57,000 a year a facility will spend to do these things other than the P&ID updates and stuff. So you can kind of see that, the cost of compliance is not cheap, but again, the cost of non-compliance is even worse. So again, the cost of compliance per facility can vary between about 15,000 to 68,000 a year. Training and knowledge reduce costs in general. I tell people all the time that, when I was in the industry, we talked about PSM, and everybody looks at PSM as something that costs us money. And yeah, it does cost us money. There's no doubt about that. But training and knowledge actually reduce costs. The more we can train our people and the more knowledge that they can have, we actually increase their efficiency, which reduces our costs. PSM total compliance reduces total facility costs while increases operations and staff knowledge. So the whole idea here is yeah, we're going to be doing some of the ITPM tasks perhaps, or we're doing PSM coordinator role, et cetera. No matter what it is, your operational and staff is gaining knowledge, and that's what we want to impart, is that knowledge. And then risk-based inspections are also a way to reduce costs. They provide valuable insights into risk, first of all, and just sitting down and developing a risk model for your facility can really bring insight, give you valuable insight into where your risks lie. For example, I know in the ammonia refrigeration industry specifically, everybody tends to use the same risk matrix. But risk isn't the same for everybody. Risk is totally different for one facility to the next. If you're running a facility in downtown Houston, your risks are much higher than if you're running a facility in the middle of West Texas with no facilities or nothing around it. So we need to be able to look at risk and then drive our ITPM and inspections based on that risk. We can apply that knowledge again to other facilities. So what we learn from one facility, we use at the next facility, whether it's the same owner of the facility or not. Knowledge is knowledge. The more knowledge that we can have, the more it reduces our cost. So the average level 1 is between about 10K a year. Level 2 is about 20K, and average level 3 is less than 25. Average level 4, remember level 4 has, we do contract, manage all of your projects, et cetera. Normally that's between 35 and 75K a year. So total way less than what you're spending already from a facility standpoint. So any questions? And I can, if you want to raise your hand, I can go ahead and unmute you if you have a question you want to ask. Yeah, IR9, somebody had asked a question. IR9 is every 5 years. I think that is correct. I thought it was every 3 years, but it may be every 5 years. But a lot of times when you're doing your normal inspection, you can also do your IR9s. You have my email address here. If you have any questions about anything that I talked about today, I'll be glad to answer those. Feel free to call me. I can be reached at the number on the screen as well, and be glad to help in any way I can. Even if you have just a general question about PSM, anything that I can help with, certainly I'm open to help in any way I can. Again, thank you so much for joining me today. And I will finish by again reiterating, feel free to ask me any questions, send me an email if you have any questions. I'll leave the screen up here for a few more minutes. Here I got another question, and I can answer that. Can your program be used by independent contractors? If we're talking about the PSI software, yes. In fact, we have several contractors that use this software currently, and we partner with them to use it the way they need to. We have different programs where we can set up the software. You can use the software. You don't have to use any of our level 1, level 2, level 3 programs. You just want to use the software, you can use the software too. And so that's certainly fine. Okay, so I'll leave my name and phone number up there for anybody that wants to, needs to write down my email address and phone. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have, okay? Again, thank you all so much for joining me today, and y'all have a great evening and rest of your week. Thanks.